sports anyway.
Yeah, I mean, why are you pretending like it would have mattered what any of us said?
Honestly.
Then what's with the... Oh, we're doing that, are we? Is that just... We're just playing the game?
I'm pretty sure you've got the questions anyway.
Yeah. I was just making sure. I was just asking about running order, that's all.
Good. Yeah, running order. Any other sport that we want to cover before... Like, any highlights we want to just chat through before we get into the quiz?
Don't think I have anything else.
Nothing that's going to be new. The only thing is Ange going to get sacked.
NFL,
yeah.
Super Bowl final.
Probably the big thing is refs this week. The ref corruption is across two sports at the moment, isn't it?
What's the second sport?
NFL. With some of the Mahomes pro ref going on.
Oh boy.
Okay, we'll start. Yeah, we'll do welcome. We'll do that then. We'll do is Ange getting sacked? Amorim's blaming all of his troubles on Rashford. 1-1 though, so a stay of execution. We can talk about the ref situation in football, and then we'll go to the NFL before we do the quiz. Welcome to...
Sounds good to me. It's just...
No, you did that.
That was on purpose.
Yeah.
I didn't have the
with me, Matt, and the comedian on the call, Joel.
How you doing, mate? Today, someone had a good day at work.
Yeah. Hello, Matt. Hello, guys.
And James, how are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
And Femi.
This is like the first episode where you then say probation.
We told the audience. No, he hasn't. We told the audience it's a long-term deal. We have got an all-sports quiz today. Before that, we'll just do little sporting highlights that we've had from over the weekend. And probably the biggest news and the best place to start is Leicester finally getting that new manager bounce, but against a team that you expect now to lose.
I just want to stop. Is it throwing it down at somebody's house? Because all I can hear is like a storm in somebody's back.
Yeah, I feel like it's Mets.
It's going to sound really bad, that's all.
I'm looking at the sound. I think it's yours, Femi. Hold on.
Is it mine?
I'm getting it in my ear too. I assume it won't be on the recording.
It was in the middle of the hurricane or something.
I've just muted myself and...
Yeah.
Stopped.
Yeah, it's Femi. Is that the aircon? We had a thunderstorm in Milton Keynes today. So Femi, now back in England, used to the cold, has got the aircon on full blast.
I don't think I've ever seen an aircon unit in an English house.
We've had this conversation multiple times, guys.
Not me. I've never pointed this out.
Oh, Fez. Probably weren't on the call at the time.
You flashed the Gymshark there, Femi, so I don't care about your sound quality personally. You could do no wrong.
Welcome to the AllSports Podcast, sponsored by Gymshark. Get 50% off through Joel.
Anyway,
right,
you asked a good question.
Yeah, let's go.
The good question was, let's go back to that. The good question was, is this the Leicester new manager bounce, or is it just expected that Spurs are going to win until they get 4 or 5 more players back?
I wouldn't say the result was expected. I think if you look at Spurs' form now, they are 19th in the league table for form. So they are in definite
Over what period?
I think it's 10 games.
Oh, that's similar to what Man City's was a month ago.
Yeah, I think so. They haven't won in 7 or something.
They're 1 point from 7 games.
Yeah, 1 point from 7 games. So yeah, they are in definite relegation form, but you would never say that result was expected. Especially the way they started the game, the way they got their first goal, they looked bright. And then as soon as they scored, I don't know if you watched it, they just seemed to lose all control of the game. Game becomes scrappy. They can't keep possession. They're just playing in a way that you would never see a top 6, top 8 team do once they go 1-0 ahead, which seems to let teams back in pretty early. But yeah, it's just, they're even getting players back fit now. If you see like the players that are coming back in and they're still losing, which is a concern.
Who came back in this weekend?
Ben Davies was back. Bentancur played. They were missing a few, but they had Richarlison back, Son played, Kulusevski played. Like they had a pretty much first teamers, apart from the goalkeepers, obviously still the new guy that's just joined, and Vicario's not back fit.
Kinski.
Yeah, but there is first teamers coming back, and they didn't look much better for it.
No, but I also think that's a little bit of match fitness, and they looked leggy in the second half.
And they pulled Richarlison at 55 minutes, which suggests he's not fully up to pace yet.
He hasn't been fit for a long time, has he? I feel like he hasn't had many minutes in the tank. But anyway, I think like my main view of this is that like Ange is getting away with it on reputation because people were painting Russell Martin as a clown for persisting with a style that his players obviously couldn't execute. Yeah. And now Ange is doing that. Like they've had these injuries for a while, and he's just been asking the team to play in exactly the same way, and it's very unlikely that they're going to be able to do that. So I think he has to take like a fair amount of he's got to take the criticism on the chin. Like this is a really, really bad run, and to lose at home to a team like Leicester, is really poor. The injuries are always going to be a caveat, and if he does end up getting sacked, I think his reputation will probably survive. Well, it won't take that much of a hit because I think everybody knows that it's a really difficult job. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he's not doing it very well. So
a little deflection from him now, though, that he's been able to, now that they've hit the transfer window, he's been able to say, where are they?
And that seems to be what Tottenham fans generally point towards, is that, and they're probably right in the like overall. I mean, all of this stems back to the Kane, Ali years where they failed to capitalise on getting into a brilliant position by turning over players that they had in the squad at the right time in order to reinvest and all that stuff, and they just did not do that. They let it stagnate, and they've never really recovered. I'm thinking that's like 2018 probably. They never really recovered from that. So I think a lot of this goes back to that period. They were one of the, I think they had like, their wage bill was ridiculously low at that point. They were competing way above their wage bill. So I think that's where like the history of this like unrest comes from. So yeah, I think if it was up to Tottenham fans, they'd probably say they'd like the club to be run differently and for Ange to stay. But unfortunately, in football, it's results business, and the most expendable person at any football club is the head coach / manager. Like before players, before chairman, before owners, he's the guy in the hot seat.
Yeah, I'd also say him being the guy in the hot seat and the figurehead, he is cut as a disgruntled, pretty downbeat person at the moment, and that can't be good for a football club. Like every interview that he started with, people were like, "Oh yeah, this guy's got quite refreshing in his approach." And over the last 6 to 8 weeks, all you see are clips of him falling out with media, interview people, fans. Like he looks like a man that's struggling, which is probably going to seep through into players and performance.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I think they'll keep him around. He's not going to get sacked because they've still got this second leg to come. And I was thinking about this today. Was it Mourinho who was sacked like the week before?
Yeah, 6 days.
Cup final.
Yeah.
Is that right? So I feel like because they did that before, there's no way that they do it again. Like Levy's already under a lot of pressure, so doing that again ahead of a final would be mad. But they're not yet there yet, so that feels like the proper acid test. Like if they don't get through to the final, he'll probably be removed because they won't have anything else to play for. They're still in Europa, aren't they?
Yeah. It just seems to be a club very much stuck in this middle ground now. They're struggling to recruit players because of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. They are then struggling to progress because they're unable to sign players, and they have been on a roundabout of managers for 10 years, really, since Poch left. So something has to change, and from fans' perspective, it feels like it's Levy and the board that they want to change, but that's not always, grass isn't always green. You can get terrible owners, and you can end up even lower down than you are now.
And it's a heck of a lot harder to get rid of the chairman and the board than it is to get rid of the manager. And if Levy's feeling any sort of pressure whatsoever, which I doubt he is, he'd just get rid of Ange. That's the solution.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. Any sunnier news?
Not for Tottenham, no.
Only for, no pun intended on Son, only for Ruud Gullit. It'd be nice to see him back. Where did he go? Maybe that's a quiz question. It's not a quiz question. Ruud van Nistelrooy. Sunnier for him, certainly.
Yeah,
Previously, we talked about how the PR has played a massive factor in him getting the job, and at this stage now you're beating a team like Tottenham, which isn't saying much given how results have been this season. But I feel like with Ruud, he's definitely bought some credit in the bank. I still feel like Leicester will get relegated this season, but even if they did get relegated, I don't think he'd get sacked anyway. So it's just more or less the same for Leicester and Ruud.
Leicester are one of those weird clubs where they might not be the worst of the bad bunch. Like you think you've seen Ipswich over the last couple of games look really terrible. Wolves can't score a goal. Southampton look pretty much rooted to the bottom. So one of those teams is going to get away with it just from the nature of only 3 going down, and it could be Leicester. But they have similar grinds with their ownership not investing in the squad. So you'd think if they were to get away with it this year, they wouldn't invest and they wouldn't get away with it again.
Yeah, 2 of those 3 are going down. Ipswich, Wolves, and Leicester. 16 and 17 points between them, so it's hard to see which way that's going to go. Wolves had a win and a draw 5 games ago, and then Ipswich 4 games ago had a win and then a draw. And Leicester have just picked up a win, but aside from that, they're all just pretty much losing all their games. Southampton are obviously all but relegated mathematically now, so it is just going to be 2 of the 3 now.
A lot will hinge on transfer window. If some of those teams can get players in who can help them straight away. I think Wolves have been in the market for centre-backs. I think
they need to hold on to Cunha.
Yeah, that's an important one.
Their manager's trying to fall out with him, Rashford, Amorim star, though. He's already questioned his body language at Chelsea, and he is also cutting quite a unhappy figure now. So I just don't understand how he stays on.
Even in January, do you think? Because that strikes me as like quite difficult.
It's probably, I can't see it happening in 5 days, in fairness, but yeah, I think summer will be the one where a lot of these moves happen.
Yeah.
I know it's easy to say, but the games between these teams are going to be huge, and they're going to be such scrappy games. They were like cup finals. It's going to be great to watch the neutral, but like a Leicester Ipswich. I don't know when they play each other, if it's close to the end of the year, but it will be real cinema to watch.
Well, if you can keep talking, I'll do the fixtures in the background.
It's not going to take a lot for a team to stay up. Like, somebody could stay up on 30 points.
Yeah. One run together, a couple of wins out of nowhere, and, you've got yourself a right chance.
Oh, great fixture. Saturday, 26th of April, Wolves at home to Leicester. There you go. That's what you want, tail end of the season. And then Sunday, the 18th of May, Leicester versus Ipswich. That feels pivotal.
Is that the last game of the season, 18th of May?
No, penultimate. They're away to Bournemouth, Leicester, so their last chance really to pick up points is going to be that Ipswich game.
Be a great.
Right, we had a bit of controversy over the weekend with referees. Who wants to give us the overview?
Joe?
I don't. I want to talk about it.
I muted myself, so.
With Arsenal, you talk about how they're crybabies and how they complain and they moan about the refs, but I think it's probably, it was not a fair decision. It was a fair call out from the fans, because it's the second time this season, what's his name, Michael Oliver's sent off a player, in a fairly controversial way. I think the first time was Trossard with the second yellow, which was quite controversial in my view. We could have just kept him on. With this one, I know people are saying it's the worst decision I've seen. It's not. It's not the worst decision, ever in a football game. It was a terrible decision, but I think this is why we've got VAR. At this stage, you expect, VAR to step in and just, overrule the referee. But, Michael Oliver's a senior referee as well. You got to factor that in. And I guess there's that fear, that element of, they're just scared to almost call him out and just say, hey, listen, just take a quick review of this. It might not actually be a red, but
and I think it was reviewed and they agreed. But what I would say, and it's some of the chat that I've seen is people saying it's about time. Like teams going on the counter attack and a player getting chopped down needs to be dealt with. I don't think the red card is the way to deal with that, but that is some of the chat that's coming out. It's like good on him for actually stamping down on it because no one else was going to do that in the game, because he set a precedent for it. But the problem is that isn't the way that the league is refereed. You have to have consistency across the games and across all of the referees that officiate the games. That's my main gripe, is that there isn't the consistency there. Arsenal, unfortunately, have been on the receiving end of it on this occasion. Bound to get one in our favour that was a controversial red. I know I've moaned about a lot of the other ones. They've sometimes been a little bit on the harsh side, but you can argue in either direction. But this one, I don't know anyone that doesn't think that would ordinarily have been a yellow.
I was having a think about the VAR and the referee crowd. I think because the referees and the VAR are the same people, they're all very pally-pally and they're all trying to protect one another, which is fair enough. Like some of the criticism that's come their way recently has gone too far. Like the Arsenal fans finding where he lives and stuff is just way too far. But yeah, I was of the opinion that VAR and referees should be separate. Like you don't need to be a referee to run VAR for me. And I feel like if you can separate those two things, you might have a group of people who understand the rules of the game, who can apply the laws of the game to a referee decision. You might come out with better decisions than people who are trying to cover friends or colleague friends, whatever you want to call it. And because they're doing that, the decisions are getting worse and worse from a VAR perspective.
Yeah, I just think they've got the process all wrong now. So as I understand it, what would have happened on Saturday is that Michael Oliver sees what he sees, gives a red card, relays what he's seen to the VAR, which would have been, I think he's gone in high and he's gone in studs up and contacted studs on whoever it was that he fouled. And the VAR looks at that and they're like, I guess that's true. Yeah. That could
not
be seen
enough,
as being
quite enough to overturn it, right?
Well, they've set this high bar, right? So it's like the refs describe something, and if it's even within the ballpark of what they described, it kind of doesn't get reviewed. And it's like, well, why do we have the review system then? If you're going to disable it like that through a split-second decision. Based on, I mean, he was in a great position, by the way, to see what happened. He was. But how are you going to disable this review process by going on the split decision of the one man who gets one angle and one look at it, when the whole point was that you can have more looks at these things so they don't negatively impact games? And the other side of it is, why are refs guessing?
Yeah,
you've got that system there, so you literally don't have to guess. I think that was a guess on Saturday. The one that happened over Christmas with John Duran at Newcastle, we've heard the audio of that now. And the audio of that comes out and it's like assistants talking over each other saying, that looks accidental, probably a yellow. And then out of nowhere, the referee looks at Shah and where he's got his hands on his body or whatever, where he's holding, and says, I'm going red. It's like, why? You've got a review system that is going to tell you whether it's a red or not. Just let them review it. I just think they've tied themselves up in knots by trying to, because VAR got too involved. Now they've brought it too far back to the point where what is the point in it being there? And when it comes down to the decisions that have gone against Arsenal, then I think they have been extremely unfortunate. In a few cases, it's been letter of the law, but all the letter of the law stuff really does my head in. They have to use their common sense. There's a really innocuous...
But it's the lack of consistency with it. If it is the letter of the law, why aren't you all following that guidance?
And that is because everybody interprets things differently, and it's always going to be the case. So therefore, let them interpret things differently. Don't try and make them do things to the minutiae of the law. So there was a very innocuous incident in the Villa West Ham game at the weekend where it was getting a bit tetchy. There'd been 6 minutes added on because of an injury. I think we were in the second minute already, and there was a free kick. 2 players went down during that free kick trying to be taken. So another 1 minute, 1.5 minutes that needed to be added on. The free kick eventually comes in, goes out of play. Nothing came of it, goal kick. Martinez takes the goal kick. The ref should just blow. The game has got to a point where all the players are being, I'd want to say the word, but I can't say that. They're not
unruly.
Yeah, exactly. They've got to a point where they're just trying to get other players sent off.
Yeah.
and trying to get under each other's skin. And he could easily have just ended the half there and nobody would have said anything. But he's thinking, oh, there's 1.5 minutes out, I've got to add that on because that's what I've got to do. But really, he should have been able to smell that it was the wrong thing to do. I think there were 2 more stoppages after that with players going down. And then immediately after the restart, players started going down again. I just don't think they control the games very well because they're trying to fit everything into the box of laws that they've been given.
Yeah, I agree. It's almost becoming an impossible task in the way they're being asked to do it. Like, I think the refereeing with VAR needs to be done in a similar way to cricket. There needs to be a umpire's call aspect, which you can definitely accept, but then they have to apply their own logic to say, okay, I'm not sure, I'm going to say no and wait for the review to come in. I think they just have to change their processes completely.
Yeah, I think there's elements of cricket that is very technology driven, and rugby that has a better vocabulary of it. It's not vocabulary, it's the nomenclature of it. That they will ask the question, is there anything, is there any reason why I shouldn't award the try? Basically, it gives open-ended. I'm giving a try. Can you see anything that would overturn that? In more controversial tries, for example.
But with how do they do with red cards and yellows in rugby? Is it all
so primarily they will go to a red and then it will go to the decision review process to see if it qualifies for a red, because they're sin-binned for 10 minutes. So you've got the advantage of that time to actually then elevate it to a red and then they stay off for the rest of the match, or it stays as yellow and they come on after the sin-bin period.
Not quite applicable to football then, is it? Because you can't.
No, because you don't have the sin bin, which probably would be quite helpful in football. Yeah, 2 minute. I know you can't do it, but 2 minute, 3 minute sin bin.
No, 100% no. And you said something earlier about what was it? About the having to stop those types of fouls that Lewis Scully
the breakaway.
made.
Yeah.
I also 100% disagree with that. Like, it's part of the game. Like, it needs to be refereed properly. They need to be given yellows for it. Because, I mean, I think I saw a few people say on Saturday, if that tackle was a red, Rodri wouldn't have a career. If that tackle had been a yellow, Rodri wouldn't have a career. He never gets booked for tackles like that. And like other players don't either.
Yeah, hey, who were we talking about? Was it Femi? Were we talking about Diaby last week?
Yeah,
Yeah, Diaby, exactly the same. True. Exactly the same, breaking up the play, not breaking up the play with interceptions, just taking someone out of the game.
And it's fine. It's part of the game. But
to be fair, Rodri, he pulls the player rather than, flicks.
He's smart with it, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I think that he does it in a smart way, and there are players who do it better than others because it's a skill, and like it is part of the game, and really you should get one a game, like, because that's what football is. Like, it's a fast game, and if you just if football becomes that game where you have to just let the man run past you with the ball, fewer people are going to watch it.